as you learn to believe in your power to create and attract abundance for yourself, you will also come to learn simultaneously that every good feeling does not need to be turned into something. Let me explain. So, all my life, I've always been an outlier, if you will. If you know me for a while, you know this is true. I don't think about things like most people do. I don't carry myself the way most people do. And because of that, you can always have a sense of loneliness in the world until you learn how to love yourself, which that's a huge topic. That's what all of this is about. But basically, I got a little story to tell you. So I was at, this is probably like 10 years ago at this point. I was at a bar like I normally do now. Went out to eat by myself, just having a good old time by myself, and someone sat next to me. I think it was a man. Yeah, it was a man. It was an older white guy. And when you're on this tip, especially when you're first starting in this, you feel like you have to kind of tiptoe to kind of see where people are at before you bring up certain subjects. And then when you meet someone that is on that wavelength, you're like, oh my God, I found you. I found my people. And it was one of those situations like that where I was just having a good old time, enjoying my own company, and somebody sat next to me, and somehow or another we ended up getting on every subject you can name, from chemtrails to politics to being in your heart frequency and all the type of stuff that I talk about. And at the end of I think we ended up talking like maybe, I know, at least a good hour and a half. And it was one of those situations where I didn't feel bothered, because where I'm at now in my journey, a lot of times I go out to eat by myself, and I have grown out of that phase where somebody will sit down and they'll start talking. I will quickly, look, you seem like a great person. I don't feel like talking. I'm here in a moment with myself, and I have no problem saying that now. And before, years ago, I would have never said that. I would have been a nice person, just carried the conversation, even though inside I'm feeling drained and I don't want to talk to this person. Nonetheless, I didn't have that situation with this person. Great conversation. And at the end of it, getting ready to go, I'm getting my check. They go, hey, we should exchange numbers and, hang out again sometime. And inside of me, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. I'm good with leaving the situation where it's at and enjoying it for what it was. And it doesn't have to become a friendship. It doesn't have to become, we go on coffee dates. It doesn't have to become anything beyond this point. And I had that thought immediately. And I knew that was what I truly felt. And I had the courage to say, no, thank you. I enjoyed our conversation. It was great. I had a wonderful time, but I don't want to do anything further. And their response was, but we had such great conversation. I mean, it's not often that you meet people that are on this wavelength and talk about things like this. While that's true, my truth was that I don't want to carry this any further. And this is where your boundaries come in, because we're so quick to say, oh, well, people don't respect my boundaries. How are your boundaries with yourself? Let's start there. So a lot of times when we will have that notion to say, I don't want to do this, your mind will come up, well, you should be a nice person. But what if you don't meet anybody like this for a very long minute? What if you don't meet someone like this for another 10 years? What are you going to do then? You don't have that many friends. Hey, and then all of a sudden, and it's like, no means no. Okay? I said no. That's good enough for me. And that's how you start to build boundaries with yourself. Because that voice, although meaning well, doesn't understand the full scope of your depth. And that's what you have to teach it. That's what you have to teach your ego. That my boundaries is a no. And that's enough. And as you get comfortable in yourself, you will start to understand that this conversation can happen as many times as I believe it can. I can have this conversation every week if I want. It can be as rare as I believe it to be. But the point is, you have to understand that you don't have to cling to every single thing that makes you feel good. That's how you end up in situations that you don't truly want to be in, and carrying things out that you initially knew you didn't want to take it beyond that moment, but you second guessed yourself and you talked yourself out of it because you didn't respect your own boundary of saying no. So that's something that you have to learn, and it takes time, it takes practice, because many times you're going to find yourself, and that's why you have to learn those times where somebody's like, hey, let's exchange numbers, and you give your number begrudgingly on the inside. It's not overt, but it's that tiny little voice, I do not feel like doing this, and you give your number. Now y'all texting, you don't really want to talk. Every time you see them on the phone, it's like, oh fuck, here this nigga go again. I'm not gonna talk to this person, when all you could have did initially is just ended it. But you didn't want to seem like a bad person. You didn't want to seem mean. You didn't want to be, you didn't want to not be nice. And now you're involved in something that you got to keep watering and watering and watering. And this is how we create karma. We think karma is this big monster. It starts small. It starts very small with little things that you do to betray yourself, and little things that you do to not listen to yourself. And now you create something that you got to live out the debt of, even if it's something as small as texting someone you don't feel like texting, carrying the energy of somebody you don't feel like carrying the energy of, when all you could just do is a simple no. But all of that boils down to is your belief and your ability to create abundance for yourself, and your ability to believe in your power for yourself. So that's just a little story I want to share. And yeah, I'm gonna figure out a way to end these better. We're just gonna say